The blade is made of Damascus steel with a VG10 cutting core with 16 layers of stainless steel on each side. So total there's 33 layers of steel. It has a lifetime warranty, needs to be washed by hand. The handle is a hardwood resin fusion known as pack of wood, and it's designed to be ergonomic to increase control and reduce fatigue during long stretches of chopping, mincing, and slicing. And since Damascus is not perfectly smooth, it creates air pockets that make slicing easier, and it prevents food from sticking to the blade like tomatoes or potatoes. So there's a benefit from Damascus, not just looks. You also get an increase in cutting performance and ease of use. See all those tiny air pockets in the steel? Those little air pockets in the Damascus prevent food from sticking while you're slicing. There's literally millions of air pockets in the blade. The blade is just covered with them. Even the VG10 core, you see many small dimples under a microscope. Look how thin the cutting edge of this knife is. That's a 32-degree inclusive angle, and there's less, maybe a half a millimeter of a bevel on the edge there. Now for a comparison, this knife right here has a 40-degree inclusive bevel. You can see there's 1.5 millimeters of a bevel on this edge, and the edge is about 0.7 millimeters thick. If you measure the very tip of the Shun knife, measures in at 0.25 millimeters. Now that is a very thin tip. Most of you have this knife and you know how thin the tip is, how fragile it is. The tip on the leek measures in at 0.48 millimeters. That's twice as thick as this Kershaw kitchen knife. Here's two Kershaws, a Kershaw leek and a Kershaw Ken Onion kitchen knife. As you can see, the design is very similar. Here's a look at the back of the handle. No sharp corners at all. Everything is rounded, smooth. See, the blade starts out thick and then it gets gradually thinner as you go towards the tip. Alright, here's a close-up of the blade, the Damascus. 33 layers of Damascus. There are some scratches from the factory in the blade. If you look real closely, you can see some scratches, like right there. And the handle. For the price of $300, I I would expect slightly better fit and finish, but this isn't Chris Reeve, this is Kershaw. But Zero Tolerance does make some very good knives, and they do have excellent fit and finish. Again, this is Pack of Wood. The handle is Pack of Wood. It is water resistant. It shouldn't absorb water, moisture, or bacteria. See the tang of the handle. It's a full tang design. See the curves on that handle. It's got curves all the way around for an ergonomic grip. Very smooth. You can see some scratches on the bolsters there. That Damascus is beautiful though. But you can get the Damascus like this in their classic line of knives, which are much cheaper. You should be able to buy a good 3-piece set for the same price of this one knife. If you get the Shun Classic. See some scratches on the edge there on the VG10. There's several scratches throughout the entire knife. But it is a kitchen knife, it's not a collectible pocket knife. I don't know of anybody who collects kitchen knives, and these are going to be kitchen knives. Are usually used and abused. Sometimes they get thrown in the dishwasher and stuff. They get scratched up real easy. I wouldn't expect to receive a folding knife with scratches on the blade like that. That would be unacceptable, but kitchen knives are, I would say, acceptable. Don't these two knives look good together? That StarTac and that Damascus blade. Yeah, that would look nice, a StarTac with a Damascus blade. That would look really good. Again, I'll look at the sharpened bevel. It's almost like a micro bevel. Well, technically it is a micro bevel, considering the edge thickness behind the sharpened part of it. If this edge holds up, I may put a 30-degree inclusive bevel on it. Alright, I measured the cutting edge of the blade, and right behind the cutting edge is extremely thin at 0.17 millimeters thin. Now that is extremely thin. If I can show you what 0.17 millimeters is. See, it's about that thin. You can barely see that tiny gap right there. That's how thin the cutting edge is, or the bevel behind the cutting edge. And I measured a 1/4 inch up on the blade, right where the VG10 is covered up by the other layers of steel, and it measured in at 0.5 millimeter, 0.50 millimeters. So a 1/4 inch up the blade, and it's that thick. Now this is going to be an extremely good slicer. The cutting edge behind the Zon is about 0.7 millimeters, and that's directly behind the cutting edge, and it gets thicker as you go up the blade. And this is how I measured it. I measured directly behind the cutting edge on the Shun, and it measured 0.17 millimeters. And this knife right here directly behind the cutting edge is 0.45 millimeters. And if you go a 1/4 inch above the cutting edge, it measures in at 0.82 millimeters. And if you go a little bit past a 1/4 of an inch, it weighs in at pretty much a little over a millimeter. Alright, this is where I'm measuring on the Shun knife at 1 millimeter. That looks to be about a little over a 1/2 inch up the blade to get a 1 millimeter reading. The thickest part on this kitchen knife is 1.35 millimeters. The thickest part on this Shun knife is 2.18 millimeters near the handle, and when you measure at the tip, it gets slightly thinner to 0.72 millimeters. Alright, I'm going to run my fingernail along the edge of this knife to see if it is a toothy edge or a very fine stropped edge. And I'm feeling no teeth at all. It's like a very fine hair whittling stropped edge. So good job, Kershaw. Here's a look at my wife's old beat up knife. I have to put mineral oil on the handle very often to keep it from drying out. The steel is very soft, doesn't hold an edge real well. See how scratched up kitchen knives get over time. And I actually tried to polish the edge on this knife, and it doesn't polish up real well at all. It's not one of those steels that polish. But the blade is mirror polished, so it's kind of weird. Check out the hydrophobic and anti-stick properties of having a Damascus kitchen knife. Since the Damascus has millions of tiny air pockets on the surface of the blade, it prevents organic substances from sticking and causing drag. You notice the water on the Kershaw knife stays more in a natural circular pattern, but on the normal knife it can separate into separate circles or change shapes, which doesn't happen on the Damascus, because the natural form of water is a circle or it's just like having Rain-X on your windows. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and look forward to my review. It'll be given about a month from now, after it's seen some use. I'll give you some thoughts on how the edge held up and how durable the knife is overall, and how well the finish holds up, and whether any rust spots occur during normal use. I would definitely recommend it, though. As my first thoughts, I would definitely recommend it at the price that I got it, at the normal price of, I think it retails for over $300 and it sells for $219 right now. But if you can get it at the price I got it, I would definitely recommend buying this. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and please like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks.